Right, here we go. So this is our first episode of the I fucked it up already. I was about to say the Blue Pill Boys.
That's a whole different podcast.
There's a porn thing called Blue Pill Men or something.
Oh, it's the fucking back.
The old dudes. The old dudes. Yeah. It's like... Right. So welcome to episode 1 of the Red Pill Dudes. This is a podcast that we've started. The name Red Pill Dudes I came up with. I can't really take full credit. I used an AI podcast name generator, and that was
as you do nowadays.
Yeah, exactly, because creativity is dead, and and that's kind of the one that I liked. It's not set in stone, to be honest. We'll go with the flow for now. See how it's received, and if we get any feedback, will be greatly appreciated. We might move on. But yeah, so without any real further ado, should we start with just a quick introduction, just very briefly, of who we are? So if you want to start with who you are.
Yeah, I can start. My name is Rene. I'm from Mexico. I've been living in Finland for about 5-6 years now. I'm a software engineer. I also have many hobbies. I'm one of those persons that just is interested in 1,000 things, and then I'm not interested anymore. I'll move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But I do that. I have a cooking channel, Mexican in the Kitchen. Go check it out after listening to this.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yep, cool. And I'm pretty much a similar situation. I moved to Finland about 5-6 years ago from England. My name's Luke, and for most of my career after graduating uni, I've been a professional poker player, and I've recently transitioned into betting on sports full time for a living. Took on some investors. Rene's actually one of them, who I bet on their behalf, and I run that business. So that's life for us at the moment. As I said, maybe we'll do a deep dive into who we are and how we got here, kind of thing, down the line. But for now, we just thought start off the first podcast. This is sort of a celebratory podcast, which is why we got a quick whiskey. So cheers and happy Friday. And basically the reason why the celebration, I suppose, is we've been talking about doing this podcast now for probably over 2 years, maybe even more. And in typical Luke fashion, I basically procrastinated about this for the best part of 2 years. And finally, you sort of pushed me. New Year's resolutions and all that jazz. Basically, it was like, right, in the new year, let's actually settle down and actually sit down and do this. We recorded a test run, or a dry run, if you will, last week or so, which went pretty smoothly. Just the camera quality was really bad, issues with the lighting. Rene, as he said, he has his channel, Mexican in the Kitchen, which is really good, and I'll get you to chat a bit about that in a second. You got all the gear, basically, got a nice camera and lighting and stuff, so we've set up like this for now. In the future, we just got this one mic on the table. We'll use 2 mics going forward. Hopefully things will be a bit clearer, but this is it for now. On that topic, while we're on your YouTube, I said we'll do a deep dive down the line, but do you want to just quickly tell people briefly about your channel, because it is pretty cool?
Yeah, it's very simple. It's called Mexican in the Kitchen, as you can assume. I cook mostly Mexican food. I cook also some other dishes. I like to show a bit of Finland as well, because it's completely different to what I grew up with, and it's also nice to show a bit why I like it here, why I'm here. I also try to do some other things. I have had some kind of tastings.
Yeah.
We had some podcasts, Finnish podcasts and liqueurs. Yeah. I had some other Finnish friends tasting Mexican food, which is always interesting. At least I love to watch those videos, so it was nice to make one of those. I basically just cook.
Yeah.
And as we were talking before, you just have to go and do it, right? Because I was thinking about it also during years, and I just started. Slowly it has grown. It started making money not long ago, not much, but it's basically pays itself.
Yeah.
So it's really nice. Same as with this podcast, it was let's just start doing something just for fun.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely check it out. It is a really good channel, and Rene's a really good cook, like you are, man. Your food's great, and it's really good. And as you said, you asked me to come onto a tasting of some Finnish liquors that you've been asked to sort of almost review. We did that a while back, and that was my first sort of splash in the content creation sort of pool, if you will. And it was. I just remember saying to you that it was one of those things that I was surprisingly nervous to just I'm a pretty confident guy in life, but I just, when you say, right, we're just going to record, and it wasn't until you literally press record and it was like, welcome to an episode of Mexican Kitchen, and me and Fred, who were with you, sort of would jump out of our skin like, oh shit, we're starting, sort of thing. And for the first sort of 5-10 minutes, you can just see that me and Fred are a little bit nervous and just sort of sipping away kind of thing. And as the liquor goes down, we got a bit more comfortable. More natural. Yeah,
it's just weird. It's a very weird thing to see how, because now I'm a bit more comfortable to speaking to the camera, for example. At the beginning, it felt really weird, especially because I record usually by myself.
Yeah.
So it feels weird and stupid to just talk to a camera kind of thing. You're always trying to look at what's on the picture kind of thing, but I guess that kind of like being nervous, it starts fading away because you get used to it. So
yeah, exactly. No, for sure. I remember I did a brief kind of stint into like streaming on Twitch. I did a couple of poker sessions. I've done a little bit of video gaming, like we play Valorant and things like that. I remember my first poker. I mean, I played poker professionally, as I said, for about 11 years, and I remember my first streaming. A certain poker site did almost a promotion of, if you stream, they're an up and coming site, and they said if you stream on Twitch, our new software and our business, basically, you'll get 100% of the reward rate. So I did that, and I remember just playing and just being terrified. Like you've been doing this job for 11 years. You know what you're doing. Every single decision, every click of the mouse you make, you just second guess, and you're just like, oh, was that a bad bet, or do I look stupid, or and you just, it kind of, if you let it get to you, it'll just eat you alive and consume you. So it's definitely one of those things where you just got to go for it, as you said, and that's what I say. I have you to thank for this, in the sense of you have pushed me to just stop being an idiot and just do it. Basically, it's
what's for me, it's insane how you talk about this, like, oh yeah, the recording and this is like, it's like I get nervous and this, and like on the streaming I was like really nervous on what to click and stuff. When you play 1,000 euros in the hand and you're like, I lost them. Okay, next thing.
Yes.
It's just the contrast of that is absolutely insane.
Yeah, it is weird for sure. Like the things that will bother me in life are, you're spot on, and especially when you think that we've made this joke where the only people that are listening are your mum and my mum, so it doesn't matter anyway. Like in terms of, so it's kind of it's all irrelevant. But yeah, so we're finally doing the podcast, and we're going to aim to put out an episode a week, depending on how it goes. And any feedback is more than welcome. Probably going to go out mostly on YouTube at the start, so any comments and all that jazz, like, subscribe, all that kind of admin that you have to do at the videos will be more than appreciated. And anyway, moving forward. So one of the things I thought we could talk about today, which is my original plan for the podcast, episode 1, I thought we'll do the sort of deep dive into who we are and how we got here, and let the listeners sort of learn about us. But I thought, actually, let's leave that for down the road and keep it a bit of a secret. And for today, out of nowhere, I thought we could discuss just a topic that came up in the news. That I'm a bit of a nerd, and I've just been following it for the last sort of week or so a little bit, and kind of fascinates me in a weird way. And this is about, I don't know if you heard about it, we briefly discussed it, but I don't know how much you know on it, about this China air balloon that has been in restricted US airspace. Have you heard much about it?
I read something about it. It's one of those things. I watch the news a lot. That's kind of usually what I have on the background if you're not paying too much attention.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people that goes into Twitter, sees what happened today, and then you see the comments and get pissed.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you close it. So I read about it. I read a lot of crazy theories about it.
Yeah,
I heard from
theories are the best.
Oh, it's the what's the official? It's a weather balloon.
Yeah,
just like
that's hilarious.
To the we're doomed kind of thing. So aliens, everything in between.
Yeah, man. It's the same. It's one of those where when I first saw the headline along the lines of like Chinese weather balloon drifts into restricted US airspace, and I thought instantly, like, rolled my eyes, like, yeah, of course it was a fucking weather balloon, right? As in, and then you find out the airspace that it drifted into, right? I don't know if you've seen it. It was the airspace above nuclear silos, so like where the US have their their nuclear missile silos, right?
It's completely random.
Yeah, it's like just coincidence that the the weather balloon drifted into top secret military areas. And the best bit was, right, is they shot it down now, right? And they shot it down, I think, a couple of days ago. And the US citizens are pissed because it travelled for 7 days across the states before they shot it down. And Biden administration, all that stuff, had said things along the lines, which, to be fair, I somewhat see. They were saying, we didn't want to shoot it down, or the military advised not to shoot it down over land, basically, because it's a big satellite balloon thing, and it can do harm to citizens. So I got that. But so the pathway of, so the official story is that China have admitted it's theirs, but they said it's a civilian weather balloon. And as I said, when they mapped the path of it, and it came in like over Alaska, and it sort of travelled like all the way across the states, and it conveniently stopped over like 7, I think it was, different nuclear missile sites, and just chilled there for sort of 30 minutes and then moved on. And one of the funny things I'd read was it crossed the Canadian border, and everyone's sort of giving scrutiny to Canadians and said, well, why didn't you shoot it down, kind of thing. And the Canadian representative of the Canadian Air Force, had said, firstly, his first response was that it was a quote along the lines of, citizens of Canada wouldn't have been happy with missiles going off, is the word he said, going off above their heads. And he said, and it followed on to say, also spending a couple $100,000 to shoot down a balloon that's drifting away from you didn't seem like worth it, basically, which I thought was brilliant. And which brings me on to, this is maybe a bit of a silly sort of side point. It was like it got me thinking. So the US shot it down with an F-1 jet and like a missile, right, which allegedly costs about $200K, which I think's crazy. It
is insane.
And I just thought, like, are there no cheaper ways to take a balloon out the sky than spend $200K on a rocket? You know, like, I thought, am I crazy? You're somewhat of an engineer. I know it's a software engineer, but it counts. Like, could you not count? Yeah. Could you not just like fly the plane into a balloon? Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? It's like, you're not going to hurt your plane, are you? Just clip it with your wing, save $200,000.
I don't know, because I have no clue, mate. I'm not that kind of engineer.
Yeah.
But I heard, for example, people were complaining, why didn't you just shoot it?
Yeah.
And then they were saying that it happened some time before already. Like, it was a very similar thing, like many years ago, like 30, 40 years ago. And they shot the balloon like 1,000 times and just
bounce the bullet, sort of just
skim like,
more.
Yeah, but it was still there.
Right.
So I guess it's like so big that that small hole is not, it will take ages for it to like fall. But every time, here's the thing that I find quite interesting, right? Because you sometimes have these people that give theories, right? Like, if you check the path, it's like the silos. It's understandable why you think that. And no, it's maybe like the balloon, and there are many theories in between, right? But then you hear some completely out of this world stories. People are like, I don't know if it happens to you, but it happens to me. I like Twitter because you see what people think, right? And usually you will see people who, like, I follow a lot of these like scientists, and then like you can tell, like, when the corona happened, you follow a couple of specialists, and they're like telling like, oh, the pandemic's like this and that, and then every time something happens, well, you follow an expert, right?
Yeah,
and you see what they tweet, and it's like, okay, makes sense, or kind of like, maybe if it doesn't make sense, then you start reading more.
Yeah.
And eventually it will make sense. But there's always these people.
Yeah, so don't get me wrong. I don't think it was unreasonable of the US government not to consult me on how to bring the balloon down. I think they probably went with the correct choice. But I found it odd that it was just so funny, the difference in border neighbours, if you will, of Canada. Like, yeah, we didn't want to spend $200,000 on shooting away a balloon that was not our problem, kind of thing. And
but $200,000 on a missile is like a slow day.
Yeah,
like, that's not. I've seen a lot of these memes, and I really laugh every time, because you always see people arguing, right? America is the best. It's not, like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's this meme that it kills me because it comes up all the time, where they do this, like, every time something with the military happens, they do this, like, pull a tank or something, and let me show you why we don't have universal healthcare.
Yeah,
because it's insane spending, right? So $200K, maybe it's not massive.
Nah.
And also, I would assume for these kind of things, then you have like a board with a lot of experts wondering what should we do. It's like maybe they know better than
100%.
what I would come up with. Right?
Having
like,
said that, my tinfoil hat like brain wants to say that maybe there was just a slow day in the office, and the guy the military guy was like, "I'm sorry, Mr. President. The only thing we can do is send the F1 in with the rocket," and it's just like yeah. But no, it's brilliant because I saw this loads of these stories where when people first came in, there was all these UFO reports they were getting, and it's kind of funny because like I don't know if you saw the balloon, but it's just literally like a white balloon. I don't know. It looks like it's just a big white balloon with a dangling like solar panel satellite almost hanging on it, right? And my point, and I just read, I got an article here that said China has used such balloons to collect intelligence over 40 countries on 5 continents. The US claims this was yesterday. It's in the Guardian, right? And it says that it basically, here we go. It says a senior State Department official said on Thursday that the equipment identified by a U-2 spy plane sent up to scrutinize the balloon. Basically, and long and short of it is that on the head of the article is Chinese balloon was clearly used for spying. The US says, right? And they've just released a couple of hours ago. Biden put out a thing saying that it doesn't pose a real threat. But it's kind of it does lead you to sort of think. Firstly, there's a couple of things. Firstly, like the audacity, if you will, of like China to try and palm it off as a weather balloon. Like, oh, sorry, man, it was a weather balloon that went adrift, kind of thing. Like they really care about what the climate is like in Southern Carolina or wherever the hell the thing was in the United States, right? So like, firstly that, and secondly, even to the point of, is there it's almost like I feel like it's a bait, like it's almost like a bluff from China. Like they sent it, they know it's going to get caught, they know it's going to be seen, but it's such shit and primitive technology as well, right? Just a balloon with a dangling satellite, like sort of thing, that they kind of almost like bluff in the US, like so that the US feel comfortable with like, this is the best. This is our level of our technology. When have you seen some of these Chinese drones and the stuff they've got? It's like, you really telling me the best you could do is this air balloon? Like
no, but here's the thing, right? And I think that's what's interesting to take from that is that this kind of thing, I think it was like during Second World War or around the time, the Japanese sent a lot of balloons like this.
Yeah.
And then they bombed
the bombs,
U.S. territory.
Yeah.
It's like, and they just basically. They had no direction, no control.
Yeah.
They just like
it was lottery
we
bombs
put it
on
here and it will arrive at some point.
Yeah, their meteorologists were sort of like, it should get to Middle America and it should blow up somewhere within this 100-mile radius sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, that happened quite long ago.
Yeah.
And now, what I find interesting is like especially with all Ukraine situation kind of thing, we've been on the border of like. Every time you go to Twitter, right? Like, there's always this, this happened, now we're fucked. This happened, now we're fucked. And like, the nuclear war is so close. And this kind of like everyone's on panic mode, which, I don't know, for me, as having grown up in Mexico, you hear these kind of things a lot, right? So it's like, something could happen anytime. It's nothing special, but like people are panicking and stuff.
Yeah.
So then you have all these things, and we have this technology, we have this like in Israel, I see that they have the Iron Dome for the missiles, and they just stopped them midair. Ukraine got these systems now, like, and everyone's kind of really displaying, this is what we can do. You shouldn't mess with us, right?
Technological dominance, and
everyone's doing that. And when you think of US, because of the budget, you think of the most advanced military, and like they always are like spot on, and then you have a balloon that just drifts across Canada and no one realizes until it's been there 7 days. Like it makes you think. Like,
it's something that happened to me as well. Like they shot it down and they collected a lot of the parts, and they've off the South Sea. So parts of the balloon were found in the sea off South Carolina. So, and they found the parts of this balloon, and they found that they said a Chinese manufacturer. And they said, who they will not name. It's like, well, put yourself again, right? Let's say you are you're the Chinese government and you're trying to spy on the US, like genuinely, like, are you really going to leave, like, let's just say it's Huawei or whatever, the Chinese manufacturer, you just going to let them, like, tag up the product, you know, with, like, oh, it's...
a tag of return to sender kind of thing. Like.
But it said Huawei Systems inside it's like, so it's almost like this massive play, like this massive bluff of, like, they want them to find it because, I mean, it'll be a pretty good play, right, of, like, we're going to send in this really primitive, helium balloon with a camera on it to take pictures of when actually we've got these, like, nano drones flying around, you know, at 60,000 feet above that can take infrared pictures of, you know, so it's kind of a bit odd. And the fact that they sent allegedly 40 of these things around the world, to spy on the world, it's just, it's definitely a strange kind of scenario that I just thought was a bit odd. And the fact that that was it. There's this huge outroar in America where all the citizens, that's what I was saying when I said about the Canadians, why they didn't shoot it down, but I think it was one of the, not senators or Congress people from Alaska, she was sort of saying, she was pissed basically. She said, you know, why we didn't shoot it down, why did they allow it to basically travel across the US for 7 days, which does make you think, if you're thinking of, if it was a genuine mission to just spy on these silos, because the articles and stuff have been saying is that the purpose, it was taking high definition, the equipment it had on board was high definition cameras and some kind of sensors that could take photographs and intercept communications over these silos. And the kind of conspiracy theory sort of there is that if they could block the communications between all these sort of this almost like this nuclear deterrent network, they could essentially attack the US first, and without the US being able to communicate, they could never retaliate type thing. So it's obviously relatively is pretty sinister in terms of that being the case. But the argument of, well, if you shot it down over the sea because it's safer, well, it's now done its job of relaying all the data and, you know, planting God knows whatever viruses or whatever if they can, who knows what technology they have. But yeah, so just thought that story was one of these things where out of nowhere I was just kind of like, it's just, I don't know, you always read all these sort of US versus China kind of like stories, and I just thought, just hilarious that the big story currently is they just sent a balloon in, and the nonchalance of like, oh, it was a weather balloon that's gone off course, my bad sort of thing. And
but I think it's also it could also be kind of counter, right? Because they have been having some tension about Hong Kong and like Taiwan, or what was the one having issues.
Go on.
And like basically everyone's taking the piss. So I think this could be also like a bit of a. I wouldn't be surprised if all over China then there's the newspapers making fun of the US of like,
they think
we threw a balloon and it got all the way inside, right?
Like I've got here. So it said it. This was basically saying that, and obviously you never know, right? All these news outlets they're full of shit, basically, right? So you got like CNN are saying that, you know, you get one outlet saying it's definitely spies trying to block, you know, nuclear communication centers, and you get others saying that literally it was just. I mean, we like this is what we get in the news, but we don't know how many balloons. We don't know this could be a thing, right? It could just be every country is flying balloons over each other and checking out things, right? But the thing I found odd about it was kind of, it's just to me it's a really odd situation. Like, why would you? I mean, there's a cell phone video from some dude in America just like holding up at the sky and be like, see, there it is, there's the balloon. It looks like it's just been sat there for 30 minutes. It's like, it's not particularly subtle, is it? Like, if some dude in his back garden can just send a video, it's like, this can't be, you almost feel like it can't be, it feels so stupid that you almost start thinking, maybe it was weather balloon. You know, you just kind of think like it kind of, but yeah.
But isn't it always like that? I mean, very often, when you do something so stupid, so obvious, people just
palm
skip
it off, and you get away with it.
Yeah, you get away because people just don't believe
like
someone
a Trojan
will do that
horse.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. It said here like a senior State Department official said Thursday that the balloon was capable of conducting signals intelligence collection operations, whatever the hell that means, and was part. And I sort of mentioned this earlier, and was part of a fleet that had flown over more than 40 countries across 5 continents. So at least I would take away from that, right? If you're the US, you're like, firstly, you're nothing special. There's 39 other countries getting the same treatment, and you're the only bastards that shot us down. So that's probably what...
You're the only one who spent 200K.
Yeah, exactly. So pretty interesting. It leads you on to like all these conspiracies I'm sort of seeing. Some of these topics I want to go into on future podcasts, but the premise of the world just starts getting quite dark for the first podcast. But the premise of the world just being drastically overpopulated in terms of resources, and this whole, essentially we are just peasants amongst the world in terms of we don't know what's really going on, and maybe the powers that be that are just realizing sooner than later that the resources run out and the music stops and there's not enough for everyone, and suddenly there's this balloon warfare traveling back and forth to kind of
I never saw the balloon war coming.
Yeah, exactly. No one did, right? It's one of those things. So it's
But I also feel that it's a bit of because you say like you never know, right? Because realistically, you cannot with this news, for example, you have 100 versions.
Yeah.
Probably you'll never realize what's the real one, right? There's ones that you're more inclined to believe, but it's hard to tell what's the whole truth.
That's the problem,
and the problem is also that I don't know how it is for you. For me, I think half of the time I think I'm very smart. Half of the time I was like, that was fuck, right?
Yeah.
So you always have this kind of doubts and this kind of like, I don't really know what I'm doing. But then, for example, like the clearest example for me is the politics in my country, right? And you see, like the whole system is really fucked up. There's a lot of corruption and this, and then you see what people are doing, what the politicians are doing, and it's like, you will have to be stupid to believe this.
Oh yeah.
And then you see people are fighting each other, defending their politician, and you're like, I don't know if I'm the one who's wrong, mate, but everyone looks stupid as fuck when they do that kind of thing. And when you turn around, it's not everyone, but it's a big chunk of the population. And then you're like, mate, because these elites, or like the people on top, on control, they're not even that smart, mate. You can see them doing things that are stupid as fuck. But then...
Like sending balloons across the United States.
That kind of thing. No, in Mexico it's way worse. But we can dedicate a whole podcast. I'll just bring the news of what happened in Mexico. Yeah. And bro, you cannot make that kind of thing up, right? But then you see like people arguing about things. Open Twitter, people argue about things that make no sense. Or like they don't really matter, right?
Oh man, yeah, Twitter's the worst.
You discuss things and you're fixing the world and saving the world on matters that don't really make a difference, or no one cares, or you're fighting, like you both are arguing wanting a better society kind of thing,
and it's
and you're both not helping it because you're both discussing about things that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, this is a prime example in a sense of that. Like the US basically, loads of people in the US basically just arguing and being outraged with their government. For some people are annoyed that they shot it down at all, and some people are annoyed that they didn't shoot it down fast enough. So it's like you're never going to please everyone type of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, sort of segues into a bit like you said with like Twitter that you said earlier about, well, my day sort of goes, I log into Twitter, I scroll down, I get pissed off, I close it, and I move on. And it's like, and that is there is literally, I don't think I've ever had a day on Twitter where I go and I go, what a lovely time that was, what a good read that was. Like it's kind of. And you keep going back, right? It's because it's like you say, it's almost like, yeah, people can argue over absolutely fucking anything on Twitter, and it's to be honest, I like a good argument, so I quite enjoy reading it.
Very, very often I play like devil's advocate. It's like I'm gonna argue with you, not because I think you're wrong, I agree with you, but I'm gonna argue because your argument's just dumb as fuck.
Yeah.
That's the feeling I get from Twitter. That's why I try not to open it so often. But that's also if you go to Facebook comments.
Oh yeah.
You constantly see things that's like you open comments from someone who's 30, 40, and you're like, how did you make it this far, mate? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
I remember
it's just crazy.
I stopped using Facebook a couple of years ago now. I think partly because it's one of those things, right, with Facebook where I don't know what I like about. What I like about Twitter is you can relatively keep to yourself on Twitter, right? You can go on Twitter, you can follow who you want, you can scroll through, and you can just be an observer, right? You can just scroll through Twitter and see two random people on the internet that you'll never meet, you never have, don't know anything about, and you can just see them absolutely go off at each other in a comment battle, and you're like, what the fuck am I reading? But you love it. It's just it's
you might comment just to put a bit more fire.
Yeah, exactly.
More wood in the
exactly.
fire.
So it's like that. But the thing with Facebook is, these are people that you fucking know, right? So, and that infuriates me more when I see just some guy I've met once in a bar or at a party or something, and he had, those people they add you on Facebook, and you're like, oh fucking hell, and you feel like it's rude to not accept them, and you add them, and then next thing you know, you just got to see their opinion on everything or whatever, and I just gave up with Facebook because I felt like it was just basically a ton of that, and people that. I mean, the reality is, I'm a 34-year-old grown man. I should just be able to go, you know what, I don't need to be your friend on Facebook. And but there'll be, you'd be people that add you from your high school, and they're just talking about, oh, the government are cunts. They did this, and you're just like, oh, fucking hell. It's just, it's.
Man, it happened to me, especially. I don't know what's your experience with moving to Finland, because it's not so far away from where you live or where you're from, right?
Yeah.
But for me, when I moved from Mexico here, I already knew I'm not planning to go back to Mexico, right? I go back and visit my family, and
really? Your mother's listening. Don't break her heart.
I love it. No. Like, she knows I'm not gonna move back, right?
Yeah.
But I love going there. I love seeing my mom, my brother. I love, every time we've gone there, it's just like, you cut weight a bit before, and then you go there, and you're gonna just gain it all back. Because my days in Mexico consist of, I'll just go. My brother eats way more than I do. He's really thin. I don't know how he does it, but I know he'll plan breakfast, meal, and dinner on different places, and it's fucking excellent, right? And you eat everything you've craved, but I'm just not planning to go back. So I completely forgot what's my whole point was in this.
Well, no, I you basically, I think what you're kind of saying is that the culture is so different.
I remember now. I had a point. This happens often, but it's my ADHD. It's when I moved to Finland, and I realized, mate, I have thousands of people, because in Mexico it's way more common to have people, right? Because you meet a lot of people. People are way more friendly, more open. Like, you'll have thousands and thousands of people as friends.
Right.
So my Facebook was packed with people. I was like, mate, most of these people I either haven't seen in ages, and I will probably not see them again. Because if I go to Mexico, I might bump into them, but it's also like, if I haven't talked to you in 5-6 years, and we don't talk, and we have nothing in common, and I see those kind of comments that you are like, I clearly don't agree with you. Like, and we clearly have gone like our own ways.
Yeah.
We are not compatible anymore. As like I get pissed every time I see you post. Then I'll fucking delete you. And then I got this, because my ex was like that she would just like delete everyone and just have like the people she's really close with, right? And I once deleted fuckloads of people, man, like 1,000 people. It was like, I don't care. And people got offended. I got a lot of messages of like, what did I do to you? Like,
I remember you saying that before to me.
That? It's like, you did nothing to me. We're never gonna see each other again.
Yeah, like, you don't want to see what they had for lunch yesterday when you're scrolling through your Facebook. Exactly. Yeah.
I got a text. I only have from high school and stuff. I don't have many friends from that time. I have 3 or 4 people on my Facebook still, because they were really nice people and I like them. But I could really say I have no like friends from that time. Like, these are people I know and I like them, and that's that. And one of them sent me, we studied together from kindergarten to high school, and she's a super nice person. I really like to see when she posts something about her life and stuff. It's nice, she's doing good. But then she texted like, hey, I haven't seen you at all, like, we're having this like 10-year-old anniversary that we kind of like left from high school, and we are all having a gathering, and would you like to come? I know nothing about you, like, I haven't heard from you in ages. It's like, there's a reason.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I mean? Like, I hate that.
You
know when you get those. This sounds really harsh, but when you get those people that they just force themselves. They like force you to be their friend. They're like, I want to be. You meet them once or twice, and they just constantly text you, sort of like, oh hey man, what are you doing tonight? You want to go for a beer, or do you want to do this? And you're just kind of like, you're like, dude, I've got very limited time I can spend with people like in those hours anyway, and I want to spend it with my handful of friends that I have, kind of thing. I'm not a crazy social person with like a massive social network, if you will, and yeah, those people that just and the thing that's weird is often those people are like, they're not like unpopular people. They've got lots of friends. It's just kind of and that's kind of, I think, what it sort of came down to is I got almost a bit of anxiety with Facebook, where you post anything, and you'd post something, and you'd be like, I don't know, I'm at such and such with such and such sort of thing, and then you'd get like a message like, oh, you still there? I'm in town. Like, I'm going to pop by, and you just sort of think like, you kind of, you just felt like if you post anything on Facebook, there's going to be 5-6 messages of people that you haven't seen in, you've met once and you haven't seen in years, asking if you're still there and if they can pop by, or people would just even show up and be like, oh hey, kind of thing. And I think that's kind of
it's a bit rough, because I do appreciate when people reach out, right? Of course. I'm never the person who reaches out first. Like, I do it, with Petra, with you, and like a handful of people, but
yeah, and don't get me wrong with this. I'm aware I'm a miserable cunt. Like, I'm aware this is
you are.
Yeah,
that's not my point. My whole point is like, I appreciate it, because I'm never that person. I'm the kind of person that if you call me or text me, and even if we're not that close, if you text me and I'm free, it's like, hey, what are you doing now? Want to grab a beer? Want to go eat? Most likely I will go.
If
I'm free, I most likely will come. But I'm never the person who calls first. I'm never the person who texts first, kind of thing. Like, that's very uncommon for me to do. I don't know why it is. It just doesn't come to naturally for me.
Sure, yeah.
But what you said, for example, is like, when I've been in Mexico, I usually post like, take a picture. Like, last time we were with Petra in Veracruz, like, it's like a beach kind of thing, and you take a picture in the pool of like whatever you're on the beach and these kind of things, post them without thinking, and it's like, and then you get the comments of like, oh, you're around, like, oh, you didn't let me know. And I was like, mate, I see my mom and my brother 2 weeks every couple of years. I want to spend the time with them, and it will be super nice to see all these friends and the people I used to know, but as you said, it's like this priority. It's like, I have so little time, I don't want to tell my mom, hey, see you, I'll come tomorrow, I'll go get wasted, kind of thing.
100%. Yeah.
I see her 2 weeks.
Dude, it's one of these things. Like, I got an example of that where, essentially, like, one of my best friends who I met him since we were, I think, 9 or 10 years old. We've been, I was best man at his wedding. He's like a brother to me, and he's the kind of guy where I've not seen him in probably 3 or 4 years now with COVID and whatever. He lives in the UK. But every time we see each other, it's like it's last week we saw each other, kind of thing, right? And we've done the classic, every now and then we've texted each other, and he's like, oh mate, should we meet up for a virtual, like a Zoom call beer, have a beer and stuff. And we're both, he's got a kid now and a wife, and we're both, there's no excuse for it, but life gets in the way, doesn't it? And we both end up, oh sorry mate, I can't make this time and I can't make that. And next thing you know, 4 years have gone past, you don't see each other. The point is, and I've obviously gone back to the UK now, a few times per year type thing, and just things come up, and you just don't end up like making the time to see each other, and it is what it is. He never complains, I never complain. It's life. But you get every now and then, I'll get where, like I say, with this thing that pisses me off or pissed me off with Facebook, and I just sort of binned it off in the end, was I would go back I'd have literally a week where I'm going back, and I'm going back literally for my friend's wedding, and see my parents, see my uncle, see my brother, see a couple of friends. And some of these people hadn't met my girlfriend or whatever, so it's kind of like you got a lot of meet and greets to sort of do that you don't do it very often because you live out the country. And I remember he's a good guy, a friend of mine, but more of a friend of a friend that sort of became friends with. And his girlfriend at the time, they've split. I basically came back for the week. I posted something on I got tagged in a post, I think, like, in London with Luke at such and such, and I got a message, like a really nasty, not nasty, but a kind of, you've really upset X because you didn't come and visit him when you were in London. And I think you need to speak to him and give an apology. And I was like, I've met the guy like 3 times in my life, and he's a lovely dude, and you know he's a great guy, and you know he's fine. But it was like I've not seen half my friends when I went back to the UK. Do you know what I mean? And it was sort of like, and when I actually messaged him to chat about it sometime, he gave me a bit of shit for it, and he understood. He was like, "Oh no, okay, I get it. I just was a bit hurt that you came back and you didn't stop him for a beer." It's like, mate,
also, mate, if you at that point, if you text me, "Hey, mate, I'm around. You didn't like. I didn't know you were around. Do you have time for a beer?" Probably say yes. Yeah, mate, join us. Like, I'm with my mom and my brother. Like, join me for like. But if you, we had this discussion before, where if you come to me, "Hey, mate, I didn't like what this thing you did. Like, I felt like I'm just not comfortable. Like, let's try not. It doesn't happen again. Like, you know what? 100% mate.
Yeah.
If you come to me like, oh, you were a cunt because of this, I'll do that 100 times.
Yeah, you're.
Because, mate, if you bitch about it, then I'll do it 100 times just to piss you off.
Yeah, and the thing was, if you'd asked me, "Hey man, I see you in England, can we go for a beer?" I would have been honest and be like, "Look, I'm really sorry, dude. I just don't have the time." Like, I was back for a wedding. A wedding takes best part of 3 days because you've got the wedding day, you've got the basically the hangover and the day off. Yeah, right. You've got the day travelling there before, so it's like 3 days, and I'm back for a week, so I've got 4 spare days. And those days you've got allocated for you going out for you're seeing your parents and you're seeing your grandparents, you're seeing your auntie and uncle, you're seeing your brother, or you're seeing your mate who lives your mates who live close by. It's just
you go visit Gav, otherwise he gets upset.
Exactly. Gav, yeah, exactly. So I've got to go and lose £30 playing darts with Gav. So it's I've got very important things to attend to. So it's just one of those things where you just kind of, I think, like I say, I get it from my mother where I don't like people, and I'm happy to keep myself to myself. But in that regard, where I can't get my head around that sort of aspect where people get genuinely offended when they're like, "Oh, you didn't come and say hello. You were in England. You didn't do this, or you didn't whatever." And I'm like, I've never ever been offended that if someone's been in the apartment next door seeing someone and they didn't knock to say hello, I'm happy. Like, cool, thank you for leaving me alone for the evening. It's kind of, but yeah, it's that's how it is. And I think we got a few more podcasts lined up topics already that I think that are going to be really good fun to discuss. I've got a couple lined up that I want to sort of surprise you with and things like that. But we're aware we're probably going to have, like I said, no viewers. But it would always be nice to, if people have any sort of topics or whatever that they want to sort of throw at us to have the discussion. I think that'd be kind of cool.
I think if anyone reached this point,
exactly,
they should like, comment, subscribe, whatever. Because
exactly.
I wouldn't have.
Yeah, exactly. We can kind of say anything now because everyone's long gone. But yeah, exactly. I think that's a good spot to wrap up week 1, right? I think it's good.
That's a good one.
Like Rene said, if you did make it this far, you're a goddamn hero, and thank you for listening. I can't promise they'll get better than this, but we'll do our best. And yeah, thank you very much, and we'll see everyone next week.
Yeah.
Cheers.